Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pan Am Flight 723 from Toronto to Montreal. Thank you for choosing Pan Am Flights. We know you do have a choice in airlines, and we are happy you've chosen to fly the friendly skies with us today. We do have an in-flight movie, even though this is a short-haul flight. The movie will be The Karate Kid, Three Ninjas Kick Back, Three Ninjas Make a Mountain, Bloodsport, the Kickboxing Trilogy, without Sasha. Also, for some reason, Little Monsters, and, oh yes, Half-Baked. Please do enjoy. Also note that the captain has turned off the no smoking sign and pressure locked the doors. Several air sickness bags have been provided for you. You will need them. Thank you again for choosing Pan Am.
This just in from Ontario. A story we're following today. A Pan Am flight recently had a fight break out. We were told that the people involved were screaming Kickboxing Academy, followed by the other side screaming Teen Boxer. More details to follow.
You know when I pick a movie, that's when I'm under pressure now. The question always comes back to me, what were they thinking now? Whoa, what were they thinking? What were they thinking?
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of What Were They Thinking? I am Brendan.
You're far too hyped for this thing. I'm Nathan.
And this is a podcast about bad to questionable movies.
Oh. Yeah. This one is like of Neil Brenian proportions.
Close. Like it's got the production values not super high.
Most of the actors, though, probably super high.
So of course, you guys listening to our description, we can only mean one film that we're discussing today, and that is Kickboxing Academy. Or
nope, we're watching Teen Boxer. That's what
I thought we
were
were
watching Teen Boxer.
Academy.
No, Teen Boxer. No. It's Teen Boxer.
It's gonna be a Showgirls 2 situation then, because I watched the wrong movie.
Well, you must have. I'll send you a copy of Teen Boxer so we can watch it.
You mean the one I sent you?
Right. That said Teen Boxer. So I don't know how you ended up watching the wrong one. You're the one who sent it to me. You had it in your possession, and you still ended up watching the wrong one. You have failed our listeners, Brendan. I just want you to know that.
Well, we're gonna get to the bottom of this, Nathan. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. This is also, we should note, a Patreon pick, where we for a little while, everybody that was a Patreon, no matter what tier, was allowed to pick one movie, and our good old buddy and frequent guest Jerika picked the film Kickboxing Academy, and so she is also here with us. Please welcome extreme sports expert Jerika.
Thank you for having me again. It's a pleasure to be back.
Are you sure you watched this movie, right?
I did watch it. I watched it twice.
Yikes.
Although I will say the second time that I watched it on like 1.2, 1.3 speed. So cut that 7-8 minutes down to like a breezy 60.
I'm gonna win the Kickboxing Academy. You see, we're gonna box. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
we're a bunch of teens and we box because we're teen boxers. You see.
What's weird is when you speed it up, they also add in like gangster talk too. Guys, I don't have a lot of information on how much this movie cost. I don't think anyone knows. It looks like it cost about $100. It did not go to the box office because this is also technically a small screen Shameful, but it's a Patreon pick because we gave everyone a pretty open option of picking whatever they wanted.
All bets were off.
Yeah.
Even movies produced by Pan Am.
Guys, a Steven Spielberg film, a Spike Lee joint, a Richard Gabai dojo is how this film begins. That is his directing credit that I'm assuming he did for every movie. I feel like that was his trademark going forward. This is a film starring Chyler Leigh from Grey's Anatomy, before anyone knew who Chyler Leigh was.
Yeah.
Also from Not Another Teen Movie.
And Supergirl is her current.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's on Supergirl.
So she's thankfully moved on and done some stuff
Yes,
since.
she has probably left this behind. I would love, because she definitely goes to like cons and stuff for like Supergirl. I would love to be the person in the room who's like, "Hey, I just have a quick question. So at 20 minutes and 16 seconds of Teen Boxer / Kickboxing Academy, your character Cindy said
This
this."
panel is over.
She just flips the script all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. She's doing all right. She has moved on.
So she stars in this movie theoretically.
In sort of.
In so much that anybody can star in this movie.
Because, well, that too, yes, and also because there's about like 25 different characters that we're meant to follow. It seems like
The first kid on film is this kid whose name I can't even remember, but absolutely it starts and you think you're following him, right? Like I wasn't alone in this.
No, and we I mean, we eventually find out, but we'll say it now just to make it less confusing, that this kid is the kid brother of a guy we later find out is Cindy, Chyler Leigh, Cindy's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And at first, because he's got a precocious little brother who like is revering kickboxing and is about to start his lessons at his brother's kickboxing academy or the kickboxing academy that this teen goes to so he can learn to box. I at first was like, okay, these are our protagonists, the people that I'm supposed to follow through the duration of the movie, and they are going to be our heroes.
Nope.
I mean, I genuinely don't even know that kid's name, so.
I don't even know the boyfriend's name.
Boyfriend is Brian.
Oh, okay.
I do know that. I know like 4 character names.
So this kid is quite a handful, and he goes to this kickboxing academy, and we soon meet another character who we're like, oh, maybe this is the protagonist. I mean, kind of. Her name is June, and she's played by Donna Barnes. Don't know who she is.
Nope.
I looked up her other movies, and where they were like a horror movie called Rumpelstiltskin, and another like weird horror movie from the 90s that I've never heard of, but I want to see. So maybe we'll see more of her eventually.
Oh no, I gotta look it up.
Oh, I did also look at her IMDb page, and I noticed that everything on it stopped after 2008, I think it was. So
yeah. But she runs this like kickboxing academy, which is also, I think, like a store, because I think they also sell things there. It looks like.
Okay, so what it looks like, you're right. It looks like she has a storefront and sells combat gear for training in the martial arts, but apparently also does kickboxing classes in the free space in the store itself, because that is one of the tightest condensed dojos I've ever seen.
It's a very small building. Insofar as I'm pretty sure this was filmed in 2 different buildings. I have to ask this major question right now, though. Is this kickboxing or is this just karate?
Okay, so
there were a lot of issues. Like, first of all, kickboxing itself, I have learned, is like Japanese, but her dojo is covered in Korean flags.
Right.
So that's one issue that I don't think they know what it is.
That the dude who is like, for all intents and purposes, our villain of the piece, his academy across the way looks like it's a karate dojo, because it's even got karate do on the walls.
So it's actually quite funny that like this movie has 2 titles, but neither are the sport that is actually in this movie.
Well, and you think like teen boxer, I think of like oh my god, what's that, like Girl Fight? Is that movie? Or like $1 Million Baby or something? Like that's like a boxer to me. I think of boxing. I don't think of like like karate or kickboxing.
Well, no, like kickboxing in and of itself is its own sport where it
is, but is it this sport?
It's not that at all, because they didn't have any of the gear that people who train in kickboxing would wear while training or in the ring. The point system bullshit at the end, like, which is straight out of Karate Kid, is not the way kickboxing is decided. It's actually pretty more straightforward to boxing, where you have to knock somebody out.
Yep. So no research done whatsoever, we can establish, before this movie was shot or written. But we do have the most famous person in this movie introduced very early on. That's Stephen Bauer, aka a man we've talked about before on this podcast with you, Jerika.
I know.
We talked about Gleaming the Cube, and I feel like since Scarface, that is just a mountain he's sliding down. As much as I had enjoyed Gleaming the Cube, it's still a little bit of a decline down the hill from Scarface, and then this is just like you've hit the bottom. You're in the swimming pool now.
Yeah, and this is like a decade after Gleaming the Cube.
Yeah.
And
He was in
then-
Traffic.
After this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so somebody saw this. Steven Soderbergh saw this.
I was like, get me that guy.
Well, it wouldn't be any weirder than that story about like Ray Fiennes getting the part in Schindler's List because Steven Spielberg saw him in Lawrence After Arabia.
Interesting tidbit, because it's a tidbit that's interesting. He was on an episode of Supergirl.
There you go. There you go.
Yep. And Better
People-
Call Saul. He's done work. It's just
Oh, yeah.
that the the quality of said work is definitely all over the map.
And he had a pretty big role in Primal Fear like the year before this movie, so I don't know what's going on.
Maybe he owed somebody.
Yeah, I was
Like-
just gonna say, who does he owe money to?
Yeah.
But don't forget, this is produced by Pan Am, which
Right.
was a major airline at the time.
Maybe he was their spokesperson.
Maybe.
But Stephen Bauer basically looks like a car salesman. Like he's got the slick back hair.
So greasy in this
He's
movie.
greasy, and we're
Well, he's
led to
supposed be a
believe.
lawyer.
Well,
Okay,
I mean,
as a law student.
he looks like a car salesman.
You know what
to
you
me.
are.
But he's cool. He's with June. They're together. And the movie like really makes no effort in convincing you that he's not going to end up being the bad guy. Like it's pretty obvious from moment one.
Like you say they're together, but like the timeline of their relationship, like at first it seems like they're like just starting to date, and then it seems
Yeah.
like they're like established dating, and like it because most of their scenes are like random inserts where it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
them. So like
Wait.
I kind of got the feeling that maybe those scenes were out of order.
I was gonna say I think this entire movie is just random inserts.
Yes.
Well, one part that we skipped up right at the very beginning is when that little kid is being driven to the Kickboxing Academy. He gets into the car in a yellow shirt and he gets out in a red shirt. That's the level of editing we're dealing with here.
It was a long trip. It was like that scene in the Garbage Pail Kids movie where they traveled all night. And for some reason, inexplicably, there's like the first few credits and then a bunch of stuff that doesn't like the stuff that's supposed to get you like pumped for the movie, but it's just like go into the Kickboxing Academy. This is Stephen Bauer going over here now, and then more credits. It's like wait,
yeah.
what?
Credits like jumped out at a really random spot in this movie.
Just so you know, like we don't get the title card until after the gross party. For some reason, there is the guy who is doing who's I don't know DJing the party. I thought it was a Men on the Mission cover band because he kept saying "Yo baby, yo baby, yo baby."
I also was wondering why it was a party
PM
filled
News.
with. Yeah. I also wondered why it was a party filled with 35-year-old men.
And that scene like really made me wonder like who is like what age group is this movie for? Because like typically these types of movies are like for children or like preteens. But then you go to this party where the guy's like making jokes about like how wet he can make girls, and I was like, excuse me?
Yeah, it's a pretty gross party.
And there's children at this party too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
That's-
everyone's there. Every
Everybody in the
single
town
person.
is at this party.
Yeah. So again, weird credits, start and stop credits. And then we cut to probably my favorite character in the movie is the karate instructor. What's
Oh,
that?
you mean PTSD is hilarious, guy?
Such
Is that-
an honor that we're recording this on Remembrance Day in honor of this gentleman.
I have to appreciate this guy makes some bold acting choices,
Ugh.
and he does not let up for a second.
Whatever
insane.
acting disease he had, it spread like a community spread throughout the entire cast.
He's like an acting super spreader. Is that what you're saying?
I am absolutely saying that because some of the things that comes out of his students' mouths are mimicking his energy and his delivery.
Yeah. Well, and I would say though we established that he's a very good karate instructor because he tells people the number one rule of karate is go for the nards.
Yeah, which will get you disqualified.
Yep. And again, karate. Why are we talking about karate?
Right. He calls people spunk monkeys. Like, I'm not totally sure, like Jerika said, who this is geared towards, because at some points it's got a lot of, kid-friendly sidekicks, three ninjas type stuff going on. And then there's a part later where there's just, they destroy her place, and someone's gonna get stabbed.
But yeah, this karate class, he is insane, and yes, the joke here is, haha, everyone, PTSD is hilarious. This is what they try to put across.
And he sees a couple of kids going across the street to the Kickboxing Academy.
Yeah, and he sends his own guys to go and basically kick their asses.
Who apparently
basically to go murder children.
Yeah. Or just intimidate them into coming to his dojo. And I don't know. I'm guessing they went and got changed before they did it, because they leave the kickbox, his karate dojo.
It was also a long
whatever,
walk.
right. In their gis, and then show up at the Kickboxing Academy to intimidate this nerdy kid and a kid they call Fat, who is not all that fat.
Not really.
In their street clothes.
Yeah. And I gotta say, the kid who they call Fat, I don't mean to come down on actors in this movie because they're all pretty bad, but
because he's fucking terrible.
He is terrible.
There is nothing. He is literally like, oh no, we need to get out of here. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like it's
he
that
has
level.
Some scene later on where we see him working at like his burger place. Oh my god, that was insane. Like, genuinely, that was painful to watch. Like, there's no emotion to his voice. Somebody was literally just like, here's the line. And then he's like, oh, great, here's your cheeseburger. And even that had too much emotion in it.
Yeah, you gave that more than he did, for sure.
And so as these guys are hassling these two kids, in comes Sensei June.
Yeah.
And she basically wants to, say, hey, knock it off. No, there'll be none of that in here. You need to get out. To which they, by the way, they call their sensei captain, not sensei. Are revealed to us rather that the captain is perfectly fine with intergender violence.
Yeah, well, as are they, because they're like, hey, we get to beat up a chick.
But they actually said, hey, captain says beating up on women is all right.
Oh,
that's like almost the exact line.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but then she does like almost kick them in the face, and she's like, that one was the air. The next one's for you.
Yeah.
So she's an adult woman who's okay with beating up teenage boys. I
don't think these guys were teenagers. I really don't think they were.
Well, I don't know if I think they might be playing teenagers.
I gathered they were either as old, if not older, than our main teen boxers.
Is this a monster truck situation where
where MacGyver should not be in high school anymore?
Yeah.
I told you before, I will not stand for monster truck slander, Brent.
I don't know. I don't think it's that, because later on, and I know we're jumping all over the place, but you know what? This movie started it. There's a scene later where one of them, the boyfriend, whose little brother, who we think is the hero and stuff at first, he's drinking at a bar, and there's nobody stepping in to say, hey, can I see some ID? And that would mean they're at least 21.
That would mean everyone is, because we see a bunch of people at the bar later. But we'll get to the bar scene. Because after Sensei June beats up the bullies. The dorks rejoice. Très magnifique. Farfignugan.
Yes.
And then we cut to Cindy, and she's on the phone with her friend. The craziest conversation, because she says, "Hold on," she got out of the shower and she's like, "Hold on, I'm getting a towel for my hair," because that's what you say over the phone. And then she says, "Why are you taking a shower before practice?" To which her friend says, "You never know what might happen." To which Cindy says, "You're such a tramp."
Friends forever.
Friends forever. This lovely, really realistic dialogue between two female characters.
As the token female here.
You know what? They're not the only ones guilty in this situation. I mean, we get the scene next where the hell's the guy's name again? Brian, Danny.
Brian's the boyfriend, and Danny is the bad boy love interest.
So Brian is at his work as a mechanic. He's doing a little bit of work on his car, and he gets kind of scolded by his boss because he's hired to work on other people's cars, not to. And I quote here, "Diddle with your own car."
Yep.
To which Brian replies, "I'm not diddling my car." I'm like, what is going on with this dialogue? Nobody talks like this.
And again, who is the audience? Like, I don't know who
This
you're
movie
going.
has a lot of questions that need answered. Who's the audience? Who's the main character? What the fuck is happening?
What is anything in this movie? And I think this is also the moment where Cindy sees the bad boy, Danny, because he's working there.
Yeah, Brian picks her up.
Yeah.
And then they stop at a gas station, which is where Danny works. And then the romantic music starts to play.
It's very subtle, though. You really have to listen for it. It doesn't overpower the dialogue at all. We find out that he used to be in, I don't know, karate, kickboxing, who knows? And she says, like, "Why did you leave?" And he's like, "Oh, I was just doing it for the goofs." And she's like, "You're pretty good for a goof."
So she called him a goof.
Yeah.
That's their version of flirting.
And this is the weird thing, like, and I also note here, I don't know what we're supposed to do with any sort of character focus in this movie, because the guy who we thought was, going to be our hero because he's looking after his little brother, taking him to kickboxing classes at the Kickboxing Academy so he can become a good teen boxer. And he then turns in, like you said, a complete asshole, just because his girlfriend's talking to this guy they both know.
He's like one. Well, I mean, I would say he's like one bad night away from being like a legitimately abusive boyfriend.
Well, he even says, "So, like, babe, you're coming to the car show with me this weekend, right?" Well, I'll have to think about it. What's the think about it, babe? I'm like, he goes from caring brother to dude bro in like 2 scenes.
Yeah, and people are like, "Oh, I thought she didn't like cars."
He's like, she loves cars.
She likes cars.
She's obsessed with them, dude. I can't get her to stop talking about cars.
And then another interesting thing, though, is if you go to the IMDb page for this movie, Danny is the main character.
Yeah.
If
so
you
it's
read
all
the synopsis, he's the main
all over the
character.
place.
And it's just like, I want to see like the deleted scenes.
And at 78 minutes, I think everything got left in.
I feel like, I don't know, I feel like this movie had abrupt cuts. Like, I think this thing was cut down to the point of incomprehensibility. So Nathan, I think you would appreciate this because we meet another character who I think must be the spiritual successor to Matthew Lillard's character in Hackers, because he's selling all this, like, he's selling things like outside of the store. I thought at first he was selling music, but then he's like, "Get this walk, dude," and it's like knockoff Walkman.
He's selling knockoff Walkmans, and his partner in sales has a shirt that says pervert on it.
Oh man, that guy sure fucking killed me.
Why didn't Christopher Walken ever endorse Walkman? It's an obvious collaboration right there.
It's a Walkman.
He's a great dancer. That'd be a perfect ad.
Right? Lesson on the road. And so there's that guy. We meet him again, another character. We're like, oh, is he the main? Nope. Okay.
But he surprisingly does end up to be actually really important to the plot.
He ends up being he ends up being the stoner ex machina.
And he does make some comments to some ladies walking by saying these boots are made for knocking. Because I think every joke in this movie is a dad joke. I'm pretty sure this movie was written by like a guy who just wrote dad jokes. It's the whole script. And then, guys, we meet the evil executive. I just named him Evil Bank Executive because I don't know what his name was.
This is the plot of so many movies that like somebody else owns the lease to a building or to land, and like they're forced to raise money or like win some competition in order to like save the building from an evil bank.
Yeah, no, it is exactly. There's so many movies like that. I mean, this is essentially Breakin' 2. But unlike those movies, where we kind of get like the build up to how they're gonna save, how they're gonna save the land or how they're gonna save their community center or kickboxing academy or karate dojo or whatever the fuck it is, we get that answer immediately because the evil bank executive is like, listen, I've got the land, you're gonna shut down unless you can win a karate tournament.
And that's how all business was done in the 80s and 90s, actually.
And they don't even really seem that like fussed about it. Like those nerdy kids are like, oh, thank God we're beginners. And then someone's like, oh no, one of you guys will still have to compete. And what? And that's the massive drama.
That's the seldomly heard French guy.
Which I thought for a while that he was completely ADR, and I think he might have been.
He has a pretty thick accent.
But yeah, they basically, you're gonna have a kickboxing tournament against that crazy karate dudes team, and the winner of that will just winner take all, I guess. If karate dude wins, I'm gonna build him a shopping mall or some bullshit. So that gets established. Meanwhile, Cindy goes and meets with June, which makes for a hilarious bit of like business because Cindy is clearly already in the room and June is like, oh, Cindy, come on in. And she makes 2 steps to the right and sits down.
And we find out that June apparently has been there for 50 years. Because I can remember all the students who've come in here over 50 years. I'm like, wait a second, just a half a... She's a
I'm 50. 50 years old.
So I was questioning whether or not all the actors who didn't actually have other credits, were they all just Pan Am employees?
I hope so.
That's what I figured.
I was
thought
hoping
that this movie was about 2 steps away from being a Matt Stone, Trey Parker movie because of how caricature-esque the bad guys were.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the evil bank executive. Like, just it's a stock character that's in every one of these plots.
Yeah, he was. It was basically Robert Vaughn from Basketball.
Yeah. So then we get that scene Jerika mentioned earlier, where that the fat dorky kid gets like verbally abused at the burger place where he works and has no reaction whatsoever.
He's repeatedly called a fat dip, but he did have one of my favorite lines in the movie. I'll be honest. So the bully comes over and he's like, "You're a beached whale or something." The nerdy kid is like, "You must have me confused with some other whale."
Get me a double cheese fatty, you fatty.
And again, this kid not that rotund.
So, I mean, every character in this movie is a really bad stereotype of like
everything.
Yeah,
what?
like I don't know, like the bullies, like just calling them fat over and over again. Like these are just like the worst tropes.
Wait, are you also telling me the one non-white character is a stereotype? So Cindy and her friend are again the only character, I believe, except for later, the only character that's not white. They're hanging out at the bowling alley. Melinda? Okay.
She basically essentially gives us a Randall line where basically saying that her job would be great if it wasn't for all the customers.
Yeah.
Which I said, fucking preach it, lady.
Preach, Melinda. But they're at the bowling alley and they're bothered by 2 bullies, but they kick their asses pretty handily, which it's also weird that like Cindy is in theory the main character, but is already very good at kickboxing. Like there's no like story from the ground up. It's just, she already is like a great fighter. Like,
Melinda has this line about spaying and neutering your pets.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
one of the bullies like whistles at her, and she's like, "Oh my God, a guy who can whistle! Like all my prayers have been answered."
Melinda's kind of killing it.
She's pretty awesome. And then the guy so they kick these guys' asses, and the guy says, "Ow, my ass!"
Like three
Twice.
times.
Is it 3 times?
2 or 3 times.
I feel like they accidentally kept inserting it into the movie after the first one. Very brief scene of that little kid from the beginning of the movie getting bullied by another kid almost, and then just getting away, followed by the evil karate dojo dude giving a thumbs up. That was a weird scene.
Thumbs up to intimidation and theft.
Yeah, so he's like out on the streets skateboarding, to which I was like, thrashing too.
Gleaming the cube.
You be there.
The nice kid is like, "Oh, do you want to read my comic?" And the bully's like, "No, I want to tear it in half."
No, before we do that, the stoner guys, we get a quick scene with them where one of them is coveting this cruising board, this longboard that he wants to own.
Which kind of comes back, but it's inconsequential.
But no, that's just it. It's fine. But my biggest issue in the consistency with this is that he's going to enter a skate competition, which would involve the half pipe, maybe park runs and stuff like that, where you would use a shorter board, your standard skateboard, the kind you would see in like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. A longboard like this one or a cruising board would not be used for such competitions.
Again, I say, this is your biggest issue.
One of them.
It also was very Wayne's World. He was basically like, "Oh yes, it will be mine."
Yeah. Oh, and that they're just absolutely stealing that to pad this film out.
Yep. To pad out, by the way, we have to reiterate, to pad out this 78-minute film. We are going to talk about this movie probably for longer than the runtime of the movie.
Yeah.
But the two nerdy dudes, the guy who gets called fat all the time and his little nerdy friend go to the Kickboxing Academy, and they make up a lie that one of them has hemorrhoids, so they need to quit because they're afraid to get beat up. And we have this hilarious scene where he's telling the other nerd what to say. He's like, says stuff, and then he's like, "Why don't you explain it?" And this scene goes on for like 20 minutes.
There's also another unsettling scene too, where the kid who like had his comic book taken and almost his skateboard stolen is talking to Sensei June, who starts talking to him about showing him her secret moves and make sure that he doesn't tell anybody. And I was like, is this movie taking a hard left into Mary Kay Letourneau town? Thankfully, that was not the case.
That's why that's the PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
They took it a little further. That was the 78 minutes, Nathan. That stuff was all cut. They had to make some adjustments.
At one point, I took a note. This has to be a spoof. This has to be like Airplane. There's no way that anybody is supposed to look at this movie and go, they tried in absolute earnest to make a serious movie.
I think they did. I think they tried in absolute earnest to make a comedy, but I don't think it turned out to be the comedy they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But back to the evil karate dojo, there are people just knocking each other out with sleeper holds, which again I don't think is legal. Like I don't know where that's going to help them.
In fact, in kickboxing, like regular boxing, there's no holds, there's no tosses or anything like that. So no triangle chokes, no hip toss, no sleeper hold, no $1 Million Dream, no cobra clutch, no go to sleep, no anaconda vice, nothing.
No, none of that. Just kicking. That's all it is.
Kicking and boxing. That's it. That's kickboxing. So,
but just to reiterate how much I love this dumb character, the karate dude, we find out what his phone looks like. And it's a grenade cell phone.
Yeah.
When he pulled that pin for a second, I was like, "Whoa!"
I was waiting for some farce-esque thing where like, yeah, and he crams the pin back in, or he throws it into a back row and you hear, like, sounds of stuff breaking.
I'm actually shocked that didn't happen. Again, this sounds like it's just like a fever dream, guys, but this movie is just scene to scene. There's no cohesion whatsoever. Like, it just jumps around like crazy.
Yeah. There's
Mhm.
like the next scene, so like right after, I think like right after the hemorrhoid scene, we get like another hot date scene between Stephen Bauer and Master June,
Oh, the
Yeah.
super awkward dinner with the
to
cell
which
phone.
she literally says, "Okay, awkward pause."
Like, did she accidentally read the stage directions?
Like a Kevin Sorbo, disappointed. All of these scenes were just like, I think they just wrote the scenes down on like note cards and we're just like shuffled them around and been like, oh yeah, we can just put that there.
Is this where we find out about the tortured past of Danny?
Yeah, so Cindy goes for a
Yeah.
walk and finds Danny asleep on the beach.
Yeah.
Is it the beach though? Because
think
I
it's at
thought
the
it was
park.
It's like 10 feet away from the beach. It's like the grassy part right before the beach.
it just looked like I wrote down at that point, I'm like, is he homeless?
Kind of is. So she's like, oh, troubles with your dad again? And he talks about how his dad drank a whole case of beer and then threw a coffee table through the wall.
I'll say this: the harrowing tales of our two protagonists, because that's where I'm going with Sensei June and Danny as our protagonists,
Okay.
because it's the closest we got. The harrowing backstories that they have make far more interesting movies than this movie.
Yeah. Inserted into this movie though, I was like, what is happening? This is where Danny tells us, I never killed that guy. And I was like, what?
Right. So like a year or two before at a kickboxing competition, he almost killed
No,
his
he did.
competition.
He did.
No, he didn't.
Oh, I thought he did.
He didn't. He didn't. Someone else did this something very similar, but we'll get to that.
I thought they both.
Danny's victim has survived.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought
and recovered.
I thought he and June had blood on their hands.
No, no,
Just
no.
June.
Okay.
But
I was
that's
like, why do we have?
shared trauma?
I was like, why do we have two accidental murderers in this movie?
But yeah,
But yeah.
that's when they have like their just like more weird flirting when she's like, "You could have called me."
So I guess they were together
Oh.
before that.
Yeah, I think so. Like my guess to a backstory, if we can call this anything deserving of a backstory, is that they were together, and then when he quit the academy because of his almost murderous fighting, they broke up, and she started dating Brian.
Are we in a muck situation where the director filmed like the second movie first and was gonna go back and film the other ones?
Yes. We got to start talking to Chyler Leigh at Comic-Con. We got to start bringing this shit up.
Then we find out that the guy across the PTSD sensei is getting prank phone calls like
Oh,
Bart
yeah.
Simpson and Moe.
That's exactly what it is. It's Bart Simpson and
And there's a twist, and just to skip ahead, we find out later that it's that skateboard dude. No, it doesn't matter. Like,
No.
why do we care? Like,
No.
what
Yeah.
does that do?
again, they're just trying to pad out.
Yeah.
Imagine how short this movie would be if it weren't for all the inserted scenes of the stoner guy.
It'd be an episode of it'd be like a sitcom episode.
The kid from the bad guys dojo shows up to harass Brian's little brother again, and there is a chase on a bike and a skateboard, and I feel that the child using the bicycle should have been able to catch the one on the skateboard with relative ease.
Also, that music sounded familiar.
I didn't notice.
Sounded like exactly the same as Mission Impossible.
Oh, did it?
It was like one or two notes off just so they wouldn't get sued.
Oh, well, that whole thing must have been star wiped out of my memory because that's what we get the next cut with, a fucking star wipe.
To a scene that is very disturbing.
Yeah, to a
Because
scene
I
that you
just-
want to talk about.
I do want to talk about because they show up to the Kickboxing Academy and it's been ransacked. And in the middle of the room, there is a black mannequin's head hanging from a rope.
Oh,
Oh, wow, I actually didn't notice that.
I rewound it because I was like, oh, that is a startling imagery that really doesn't fit in this movie.
that was the punching dummy that they trashed because my oldest one was in jiu-jitsu and their dojo had I don't know, like punching dummies, but instead of bags, they actually had like human torso shapes with heads and stuff like that. So you knew where you were punching or where you were hitting and whatnot.
I was just like, when did this movie turn into American History X? Like, what is going on here?
I will say that a sort of different reaction that I had here. I actually jumped at this scene because at one point the French guy yells really loudly, like, "I can't believe it!" And it made me jump as I was watching it.
But our friends at the Kickboxing Academy are not deterred by this.
Oh, not at all.
No.
Ridiculously not deterred, by the way.
Although
Like,
I did kind of just wonder, like, why didn't they just clean it up? Like, instead they were like, well,
Let's go to the beach.
Yeah, we'll just go outside. I was like, well, you could also clean it up, though.
there's also like 25 of you to clean this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're hanging out at the beach, and the two nerdy guys show back up, and they're like, hey, we want to come back on the team. And she lets them back on the team. Again, more padding. It doesn't matter. They're going to fight for the tournament thing. Whatever.
And, like, I know this is hardly a movie, but, like, they quit without, like, we never see them talk about quitting. We just see them quit. And then they come back, and we never saw them, like, talk about coming back. They just, like, move in and out of scenes, like...
I mean, you could say this movie is a lot like Dazed and Confused, right, guys? It's just sharp
I was
writing,
just dazed and confused the entire time trying to watch it.
Sharp writing, multiple characters and storylines, just juggled perfectly, just weaving in and out of the story. Matthew McConaughey at its center. I guess that would be like this movie's Stephen Bauer. But no, yeah, so we get that, and then we get the scene where apparently everyone in this movie is old enough to drink.
We get a fight scene. Unlike any fight
Pretty
scene.
spry for a drunkard. I'll tell you that.
Love with this fight scene on a lot of levels.
Yeah, well, because Cindy is hanging out with Danny.
Yeah, they're playing
pool. What's that? Yeah, they're playing some pool, and then Brian shows up, quote unquote, drunk.
He's kind of like, he doesn't really show up. He kind of appears to have been sitting like 2 feet away from them, and then dramatically turns around, and then they're like, "Whoa, Brian's here!"
Also, he is like 14, right?
Well, we don't know how old they are. Like
16 at least, because he has a car and he's driving around.
But they're all in a bar.
Yeah,
he's got a beer. He's been served.
Well, that's what I wrote. Are they in college? Like, what the hell? He needs, if this is the U.S., he has to be at least 21 to drink. And anybody looking that young had to have gotten carded.
Yeah. Unless you're in Wyoming.
He's like
Wyoming.
fully hammered. And so him and Cindy get into a big fight because he can't get a hold of her because she didn't go to the car show. She's been hanging out with Danny.
She doesn't go to the car show during an earlier scene where he was graving about that. He's like, "It's one of those things you go to with your babe." When he was talking to his boss, because his boss was going with some of his car club buddies.
Yeah, like he didn't want to go with the guys because you go with your babe. I've been to a car show or two. That is not true.
No.
There are many groups of gentlemen who go together. So Brian, you are mistaken.
Yeah, and so of course, Cindy accuses him of like never listening to her. At which point he like interrupts her and like tells her to shut up. And as someone who's watching it, I'm kind of like, yeah, of course you would pick Danny. He like seems to be a polite human being.
Yeah.
Who actually talks to her, other than the blood on his hands.
Yeah, the accidental almost murder.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have a ridiculous choreographed fight scene where Danny is like blocking a pool cue with like pool balls. Like he's
just with his hand, and Brian is like coming at him with a pool cue. And oh my god, the best part though is when Brian like falls flat on his ass and he tries to do that like cool fight move.
Oh, he couldn't kip up, yeah.
And he just flails around, and I'm like, I felt seen because that would be me.
I feel like, I wonder if that was, they just keep rolling.
Yeah, like I can tell, like was
Sure.
it?
We can do another take. I know I can do this. No, keep going. Realism.
Guys, we only have enough money for 30 more minutes of shooting.
But like that scene is so weird to me because that's one of the moments to me where it felt like they were trying to be obviously funny because like he grabs a beer bottle and pushes it, but then he's only left with like a 2-inch piece of glass, and I'm
Call
like,
back to They Live.
I'm like, this is a comedy, right?
By the way, they go from like a karate fight to him getting a weapon to stab him.
Yeah, he was prepared to murder.
He was ready to murder this guy. So after this fight, yeah, he cuts his own hand. He starts driving because again, I guess I don't know how old anyone is in this movie, but he's driving home, and then we find out later he got into a car accident. He's in the hospital.
Okay, no. First of all, when he leaves, the dudes from the other dojo are seen getting out from around his car. So I think that there was a scene that we were supposed to get that we didn't get where they fucked with his car.
Oh yeah, they
okay.
sabotaged his car because when he's driving, like I think you're supposed to kind of think he's just drunk, but when he's driving, you can see that like he's trying to straighten out his wheel, but the car like careens off. So yeah, the other team, and I think the evil Vietnam vet references it later. The other team sabotaged Brian's car to get him out of the fight so that they could beat him.
So they were ready to murder for this. Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, brings a, he's ready to do a lot more than that once we get to the final fight scene.
That's true. We get a lot more references to. We get another villain popping up here because we get another scene of Stephen Bauer and June, and he's telling her all about like the history of wine, I guess. And then all of a sudden they get a voicemail.
Oh my god, that scene was so flat and dry. 1964. Good year.
Oh yeah. He could not care less in this movie. Like
was he awake? How many?
I don't.
I feel like he was on tranquilizers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Stephen Bauer is just out of it. He's not present at all. But then a voicemail comes in and we hear the evil bank executives like drop those papers to take over the Kickboxing Academy. Oh no, you guys, Stephen Bauer is a villain.
Traitor!
And June is not happy.
No.
She's not.
June is so upset.
Very good.
Thank you. So yeah, so Cindy then I guess visits Brian in the hospital, and he's like, you know what? I did a lot of soul searching. I'm like, when? Last night after you almost died? And he's like, I did a lot of soul searching. I realize I've been a jerk. It's not going to be easy seeing you with him though. And Cindy's like, he's cool. You'll like him. That's how that's resolved.
All right. Weird fucking breakup. I'll tell you that much.
Back to the evil karate dojo. He's showing them slides of his karate fights. And why is there a noose in the scene?
I noticed that too, that he has a noose in his office.
That was weird.
He also has a picture of him getting a wedgie.
Because
In
that's
his own slideshow.
in the slide presentation that he put together to show them.
Yeah.
So they could have the joke where the guys are laughing at the picture of him getting a wedgie, but logistically it makes no sense. Why would that be in there?
Yeah, but yeah, he has a noose in his office.
He has a fucking noose. Did they film somewhere and forget to take that out before they hit record? Like, what's going on here?
Like, the life this man must have lived.
Oh, and we're not even at the tip of the iceberg yet.
It's a real Five Bloods situation, really.
Yes. Spike Lee looked at this movie for inspiration.
Right after this is when we get June confessing to her big secret, I think.
Oh yeah, that she killed a 9-year-old.
Yeah. But to be
Not
fair,
recently.
she was probably also 9.
It wasn't like 2 weeks ago.
You know, that kid that was harassing, Brian's little brother? I took care of it.
I slit his throat with a fucking Ginzu.
Stuck him like a pig.
Yeah, no, she basically did what Danny couldn't, so she's better than him, obviously. She finished the job, but she had a kickboxing fight, and the kid ended up dying, which she later found out the kid actually died from congenital heart failure. So she didn't actually kill him, and it's like, okay, this movie wants us to be like, hold on, guys, she's not actually a killer. Like, let's not do that.
But yeah, she's trying to encourage Danny to fight again, to get over his dark past.
Listen, I've killed, you've killed, we've all killed. We've all taken a life.
Then we get like a one shot of her looking at a piece of paper, which we later find out is a photo, but it looks like she's just looking at a piece of paper. No dialogue, just her looking at it at her desk, and then they cut away.
Maybe there was a whole subplot involved where she was like an environmentalist, and
No,
she was
no,
like really
because they're-
upset that paper got put back in the office.
It's not that. It's the we find out that it was her adoptive father because June's last name is Hong.
I think so.
Oh
Or
yeah.
Huang.
Yeah,
We
because
haven't mentioned, yeah, she was adopted by what I assume was an elderly Asian man.
Yeah.
he would think it was her dad's dojo before it was hers.
Yeah.
So that's why the dojo's been around for 50 years. Would have been really good to know that beforehand when she said that when I think of all the students who've come through these doors in 50 years, it's like, you don't look that old.
She does her big speech.
We have the
Meanwhile,
best elevator scene next.
oh, hilarious.
What is this man? Guys, who is he?
I told you, he's the stoner ex machina.
I swear to God, like, if we, like, Googled him and found out that he was, like, a fucking, like, Oscar-winning screenwriter or something like that, I would...
You laugh, but one of the stars of the movie Zombie Nightmare, who was like the main baddie in the that wasn't Adam West in Zombie Nightmare, actually went on to be like a wildly successful film producer.
It'd be crazy if it was like William Goldman or something.
But yeah, so we get the scene where, so in order to pay for his skateboard, I think, the stoner guy gets a job as a skateboard messenger.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the plot.
For Stephen
This is-
Bauer. Yeah, he goes in the elevator, he farts, he blames it on a guy. It's hilarious. We all laugh. He goes and gets all these papers, and Stephen Bauer's like, listen, this one you got to file, and this one you got to make copies for. But our skateboarder is a little clumsy, and he falls and drops all these papers. Picking them up, he realizes, oh, this could be bad. I better let the Academy know. Wait, do I show this to the Academy and help my friends, or do I become the world thrashboard champ? And it's like, oh, okay, movie. Thanks for letting us know the conundrum he's in by having him literally say it to no one.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. He's insane. So what he sees is like it's transfer of land ownership papers.
Yeah.
So that's what he finds, that evil
Did we
Stephen
ever
Bauer.
find out what the stoner guy's name is? Did they ever say his name?
I don't think so.
I don't
Okay.
know. I just don't get, so when he gets in that elevator, he's trying to flirt with that woman, but his method of flirting is just farting. I gotta say, guys, you gotta step it up.
I mean, come on. You're saying that doesn't work? This movie is not realistic, Jerika. So you're telling me this would work, right?
No.
Oh, god damn it! I gotta work on my elevator pitch.
very, very good. Very, very good. Not really,
And then he
but
makes
very good.
he also makes a hilarious joke. He's like, I have got to lay off the nachos.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it was
So-
after that we actually get sort of a twist.
Oh
We
yeah, but
find out why the evil banker is evil.
why is he evil, Jerika?
Because Master June killed his son in cold blood.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, no, he's the kid that died. Or his kid is the kid that died.
And so he has sworn revenge on all kickboxing academies.
As one does.
But now we get to the tournament. We get to the big tournament. I love, by the way, June on the side coaching. Her coaching. And literally at one point she says, kick!
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than the other coach who just like,
Box! Punch!
No.
yeah, looks down at his own dick and then like points at it.
Yeah. I did find it funny that one of the kid, the one who was harassing Brian's little brother, his name's Jim Wynorski.
Oh, sounds like the director of fucking...
That is the name of the director of Chopping Mall, yes.
Yeah.
I just like that the evil Vietnam vet is so like dedicated to his kick people in the nerds narrative. that
Super
even
dedicated
when,
to cheating.
Yeah.
that even when his fighter is fighting a girl, he's like, kick her in the nards.
He also, when he points to his own dick, I thought he was just telling the guy to kick someone in the nards, but it's because he makes the guy gets kicked in the chest and holds his dick as if he got hit in the dick. And I'm like, what is this, a fucking WWE referee? Like, well, how do you not know he didn't get hit in the nuts? Like, what's wrong with you?
When he started yelling about kicking a girl in the nards, I just felt like that alien from Rick and Morty again. That's not how nards work.
It was pretty great though. So I mean, like, evil Vietnam vet is cheating like all over the place. And
To which point they're actually chanting cheat, cheat,
Yeah.
cheat, cheat.
But one of the best parts is it's supposed to be the female round. It's supposed to be a woman fighting a woman.
Yeah.
And he puts in a man, and the judge is like, oh, excuse me, that's a man. And then he's like, equal rights, look it up.
So, like Ben and Arthur, this movie is a stealth trans rights film. And
you go.
we should not be making fun of it.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. This movie, 1997, ahead of its time.
We should be better people.
1997, the same year that Harry Potter came out.
What? The book?
I was just making a reference to J.K. Rowling.
Danny does show up at the last minute. Well, but before that, I wanted to mention along with the cheat chant. One of the guys wins on the evil team or whatever, and he literally says the line to his guys. It's quiet, but he's like, "I won, but I cheated."
Yeah, I heard that too.
What?
The fat kid, he actually gets a win. Yeah, he does like this drunken monkey rolling headbutt to get his final point, which I was like, all right, movie. All right. You had one good thing about you.
Yeah, you pass. Everything's great now. But yeah, and then at the last minute, Danny shows up, and because Pierre sucks. Let's just face it, guys. Pierre sucks.
Yeah, he doesn't even get a
him out of
chance,
there.
but screw that guy.
Yeah. And they're like, well, we have a last minute replacement. Like, you can't do that. It's like, yes, we can. That's right. It was 11 years ahead of its time before the campaign that changed America. And Danny gets in there and he fights their surprise entrant, which is a giant man who looks like to be in his 40s. At least. And I mean, Danny wins the fight. It's a close fight, but Danny wins it.
I wrote down that like Danny, I think the actor who plays Danny, because I know he's a Power Ranger, I think he probably actually does know martial arts. He seemed pretty decent in the.
There's a great shot after he won, and they're all celebrating that two of the kids, and I don't know if this was like just leave it in, it's fine, or if they did it on purpose, but they go for a high five and miss horribly. Like everybody else is cheering, they go for a high five and they like just whiff it.
I can almost guarantee they didn't notice.
Leave it in, move on.
So it's a tie, isn't it?
It is a tie, and then they're like, okay, now we have to have the leaders fight each other. So it's June against evil karate leader, and June destroys him.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, she's destroying him, but then for the third point, somebody goes, "Hey, dude!" And like, your wiener's out, basically.
It's the little kid. It's Jason. He's like, "Hey, evil Vietnam vet, your fly's down," and he's like, "I'm not gonna fall for that." Well, if your fly's not down, what the heck is that thing?
And I'm like, what? If she was kicking his ass, they didn't even need to cheat.
No.
Yeah, but they did. They sunk to their level.
This is a Daniel is the villain all over again.
We get some, you know what I thought was really funny, or just this movie about this whole thing. When we have the fight about with the female, even though there are two females at this kickboxing academy, we have one fight in this tournament, and there is clearly a female.
Yeah, there's a woman on their team.
In the Fatal Combat Academy.
And they still put a man in.
Yeah. Also, there's a moment where before the females are about to fight, the ring announcer is like, and now the cat fight. Just a joke, people. Now the woman's fight. And I'm like, what was that?
Yeah.
That
This
was
movie is-
1997 at its peak.
movie
It
is
was
a lot.
it was a weird throwaway joke. Like, like that they just threw in there. But anyway, June beats the crap out of him, and then holy shit. This
Well,
is
no,
where
no,
I
not
was like,
yet, not
oh,
yet.
sorry.
Because this is before that happens. Before that thing happens, the skateboard messenger shows up,
Right.
and he reveals that
No,
he didn't,
dude, no.
he didn't file the original. And so Stephen Bauer's evil plan to steal the Kickboxing Academy and turn it into a mall is
Which would have been solid investment advice in
has been
'97.
has been revealed, and the evil banker now forgives June for murdering his child. And they like hug. He's like, I'm gonna get you corporate sponsors. Like they are like best friends going forward now. So you
Not
think
shooting.
Kickboxing Academy has won, but then what happens, Brendan?
Then the evil Vietnam veteran has a fucking machine gun, and he is just firing it into the air and basically takes everyone hostage.
How did he get that past security?
Don't know.
That moment was like, I agree with Nathan. Like, it's a moment like that where I'm like, they had to have thought it was a spoof. Like,
Yeah.
There's no way. Oh, also
like-
we should note we have failed to mention that this whole tournament is held Bash at the Beach style.
Oh yeah, it's outside, right?
Outside, under a canopy, next to the ocean.
With like 15 people in the audience.
Yeah. It's not Road Wild.
He takes out his machine gun and like starts directing his students, like, fucking tie him up.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's
And
like,
one of the kids is like, excuse me, my mom's picking me up at 3.
which by the way, the guy that says that is 38 years old.
And the whole time, again, in between his ranting and stuff,
Like, he's literally threatening to murder,
yeah.
like,
He's
what,
gonna
40
murder-
people, 50 people?
Everybody there except for his team, I'm
Can
guessing.
you imagine if you turned on the news and they were
This
and
was
they
a year.
told a story
This was a year away from Columbine. Okay,
of
I'm just.
a karate's like today at Venice Beach,
It's a news story that we're following out
the
of
largest massacre
California.
in American history.
I gotta go pick up Gary. I wonder if he won his kickboxing tournament today. What did you say? Are you gonna move Gary into a different dojo? Well, I mean, that was bad, but like, prices are expensive.
It's a reasonably priced dojo. I'm not gonna lie.
Like, he's insane. But then we have someone does save the day, and then it makes you wonder: is the little kid the hero? Because
yeah.
he's like creeping around the.
I thought someone was gonna push him and he was gonna trip him, or Jason was gonna kick him in the nards.
He just uppercuts him in the jaw and knocks him out immediately.
Yeah, and then everyone claps. Everybody, the day has been saved.
Don't forget though, the end game for the evil karate dojo, Fatal Combat. He never wanted to be a sensei in the first place. He wanted to open an army surplus store, which begs the question: why didn't you just open an army surplus store? You had enough money to start a karate dojo. Why didn't you just open an Army Navy surplus store?
Another question that we will never know the answer to. But yeah, this is they saved the day. There's a big party outside in the dark on someone's lawn.
Did you notice that Melinda starts putting the moves on Brian? She's like, "Oh, I'll drive home with you, Brian." And I'm like, maybe Cindy was right. Maybe you are a tramp.
She's like, "Oh, you done with Brian? All right."
Oh, you've moved on back to Danny? Okay.
Yeah.
But of course, we finish with Cindy walks out to find Danny all sulking and alone because he's a loner, I guess.
Yeah, she's like, "I thought you'd be at the party." He's
Yeah.
like, "No, you didn't. Babe, I'm too cool. Have you seen my highlights? I go to fucking parties."
And then they kiss, and then we get the credits.
Very abrupt ending.
Very abrupt ending.
Couple
But
of
a
interesting
welcome
credits. I don't know if you watched them all or not. But I was writing my haiku.
they were very slow, even on my like 1.3 speed. They were still very slow, so I can only imagine what snail's pace they were creeping along at.
Well, I happened to look up a couple of times, and one of them said film stock, Kodak, Woodstock, great concert.
Oh no,
Oh,
Yeah.
there were
dad
credits.
jokes. You're right. That is okay. That's a great dad joke.
And then
though.
and then at the end, or the very end of it, I found out that this was released in 1997 because at Brendan's request, I did no research into this movie because he wanted me to have no research into this movie.
What year did you think the movie was?
I honestly, the feel, the aesthetic to it, the cliched tropes in it had me thinking 92.
Now, this is a hard night. Like when you look at this
Yeah.
is major 93 vibes to me.
Yeah. So like right around that area. Yeah.
This is like a Mighty
can
Ducks
definitely see
came out
that.
in like 92, and like this feels very much like a.
Well, I mean that's the thing. Like the direct-to-video market was still pretty, and
I
then
know.
also the that warning at the end where they're like, under the rights of under the laws of the U.S. and other governing territories and copyright infringement, illegal, that sort of stuff, and then ... Go ahead, try something.
Jesus Christ, this movie might have the best credits I've ever heard in my life.
I laughed more at the credits than I did at the entire friggin' movie.
Like this is such a dad joke. This movie was definitely a dad who was just like, oh, July 4th long weekend. I'm gonna sit in my chair and drink some beer. I'm gonna fucking write a movie.
I watched Police Academy last week, and then I watched Kickboxer. I think I know what I'm gonna write it.
Well, with that being said, let's go around the horn. Jerika, would you recommend Kickboxing Academy, aka Teen Boxer, to your family and or friends?
To my family and our friends. Oh, if you're watching it for what this is, if you're watching it knowing that it's like bad, it's pretty wild. It's short enough that I think that I gotta say, yeah, probably for the machine gun scene. Because just imagine, you don't have to. We did it. We sat down to watch a kickboxing movie that ended with a Vietnam vet trying to take 50 people hostage. If you're trying to complete your Stephen Bauer filmography.
Well, best of luck, because he's got a pretty long list on the old IMDb there.
If you just got this and Snapdragon left to go, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Nathan, hearty recommendation?
Only if you are on the satellite of love. Other than that, no. Do not sit down to watch this movie thinking this is going to be a fun 90s romp. It is not. It can be very difficult to watch at points. There were times when I thought my mind had become untethered from reality. It felt like I don't know if I said this on the show, but I said it beforehand. It felt like some weird Pulp Fiction-esque storytelling thing where the stories kind of crisscross but never truly intersect. Not for serious, but for drinking and riffing for sure.
Yeah, I'd say this is like definitely a bad movie. It's like you guys said, it's 78 minutes long. It's an entertainingly bad movie. The jokes they go for, you're just gonna be like, what? And
it doesn't take up a lot of your time. So
no,
Yeah.
and I mean, it ends with a machine gun. So I mean, again, how can you?
Yeah,
not?
if you're listening to this and you're like, I got to see this crazy Vietnam vet.
If you're listening to this and you heard machine gun and you reacted with any kind of surprise, you need to watch it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, good luck.
Yeah, and very hard to find. So
Very hard to find. You can probably buy it on it. I think I bought the last copy on Amazon.
it says that you can watch it on Amazon or available on Amazon. I don't think it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's one of those ones where you can rent it for like $1 or something.
Yeah.
Actually,
So we're gonna take a break and we will be right back.
What were they thinking?
What Were They Thinking is brought to you by HostGator. HostGator is a leading provider of shared, reseller, VPS, and dedicated hosting solutions. Award-winning support is available 24/7, 365 days a year via phone, email, and live chat. Discover why over 9 million websites trust HostGator. Use the coupon code SCHLOCK for 25% off your first purchase. That's SCHLOCK, SCHLOCK, for 25% off your first purchase.
What Were They Thinking is brought to you today by GameItAll.com. Whether it's video game news, the latest in music, or movie reviews, GameItAll.com is your one-stop shop for all nerdy talk.
What were they thinking?
And we're back.
Yes, we are back.
And now it's time to get poetic about a movie that probably doesn't deserve it.
No,
But it's
no.
But it's time for the low haiku, Nathan. What is the low haiku?
Well, the low haiku is 17 perfect syllables to describe a wildly imperfect movie.
Indeed, and that is what we are about to do. So, Jerika, as our guest, would you like to start off with your haiku?
Wow, Stephen Bauer. This is no Gleaming the Cube. Really went downhill.
Very good, very good. Nathan, would you like to read your haiku?
Yes. This is disaster. Dialogue characters a mess. Jean-Claude Van Damme it.
Oh, very nice.
Okay. So here's the thing, you guys. There's not going to be a haiku on my end because all I have to tell you, Nathan, is that the two leads in this movie, the romantic leads, are real life brother and sister.
What? What?
Real life brother and sister.
This movie's got incest. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that why you told me not to research anything?
Nope, I had to save that shit for the end.
Our blood related.
And if you're wondering if they, if you guys are wondering and listening and wondering if they faked the kissing, no. There's
No,
three scenes where they kiss.
They make out a lot.
Oh my
He's
god.
her older brother.
Oh yeah, and older brother, she's 16 and he's 25 on top of that.
Oh my god.
That's right. That's right. Can you guess why I picked this movie?
Mm.
Because there's incest in it.
I have never been so June Diane Raphael in my entire life.
Oh.
So upset. Oh my god. What? What? Oh.
They're brother and sister.
Siblings.
Yep.
Same parents.
Oh.
Which, by the way, I gotta say right now, why did they allow that to happen? There are so many actors in Hollywood.
I don't
There's
know.
even a fetching young lady who plays her friend. They could have just switched those roles. Oh.
But then there wouldn't be any incest.
A
and I don't-
leading. There wouldn't be any. And then what would we do then?
Yeah, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Oh, I think Nathan just broke.
I'm not. I don't. I
don't know what's up and what's down.
I mean, it's. Oof.
So let me tell you
Okay.
I've known about this movie for a while.
Yeah.
So like I've known who Chyler Leigh is from like Brendan said, Not Another Teen Movie, Grey's Anatomy, Supergirl. But a while ago, and a decade ago, Cracked did an article where they talked about movies that were made better by something off screen. And this was number one. Because this movie is made better by the fact that the romantic leads are played by real life brother and sister. And I've always carried this knowledge with me. And then A few months ago, I messaged Brendan and I said, this movie has incest. We should do this movie.
I want you to take this in the best possible light that you could possibly take it. You bitch.
Oh, I'm dying.
Oh God.
So under this lens, under the lens of incest, would you like to redo your recommendation to watch it? 'Cause I think it's a yes now.
Oh.
How do you feel? Knowing
I
that
stand by my statement.
that
stand by my-
I do think that decision by the parents was awful, though.
to let their
Wow.
minor daughter make out with their son.
See, here's the thing.
Thanks, Jerika. Nobody can see the physical
You can see it though.
visual gags. Thank you.
If you had told me this,
You have children, right, Nathan?
I do. I have two daughters. Thank you very much. If you had told me this, if I'd known about this when this started, you would have probably eclipsed the amount of dry heaves that came in the episode Hollywood Homicide.
I think we already did. Well, there you go. You can't reveal that too early in the episode because then that's just the whole episode. So we gotta save that to the end. That's the cherry. That's the dessert after the dinner. The incest dessert. All right. So guys, on that note, Nathan, we talked about this movie, but what do we always say?
Well,
Incest? Is that what you guys say?
Oh no, we do not. But we have from time to time been known to say, "Don't take a word for it."
That's right. That's what we say. Although heading over to Rotten Tomatoes, it looks like they don't have a whole lot to say. Critics, we don't have a percentage for that because it's an NA. So I guess they weren't into incest films for some reason in 1997.
God.
And the audience approval rating is at a staggering 33%. So that's pretty good. So I think we're just gonna go right into the audience reviews, shall we, guys?
Let's.
Well, from Nathaniel L., who I thought was you until I saw the last initial. So, we'll see after we read this review here. Nathaniel L. says, Kickboxing Academy was criticized for the acting, but I was impressed by Stephen Bauer's over-the-top acting and how Tom Scalise, I'm assuming that's the karate guy, was
that's
able...
Maddox. Isn't that? I thought Maddox was the banker guy.
Oh, maybe. And how Tom Scalise was able to play it so cool. Also, Chyler Leigh and Christopher Khayman Lee played a convincing couple, even though they're real-life brother and sister. That was acting. 4 stars.
Oh, my God. That was an abomination. Susie P., she gave it 5 out of stars. And she wrote, fabulous movie and breakout actor Tom Scalise is the bomb. He steals the movie.
He's a breakout. He's going to be a big star.
So there's also from Chris A., who gives it 4 out of 5 stars. Great stuff.
Hey, Khayman Lee.
Oh my God, yes. Great stuff. I mean, so bizarre. The cast is almost entirely composed of non-actors or first-time actors. Oh, and the romantic leads are played by siblings and they make out. So that's pretty nuts.
All right. I'm going to head over to IMDb to grab this review. This is a 10 out of 10 on IMDb. It says, and the title of the review is "This Movie Rocks." Why do all these adults watch kids' movies, then say they suck? This movie kicks butt, and Chyler Leigh is a total babe. The action rocks, and the jokes are good too. This is one of the best kickboxing films I've ever seen. And just to note, this review was written on October 6, 1999. Just wanted to throw that in there. So they were not aware yet, I'm sure.
Okay. Gordon B. Gave it 1 out of stars, and he wrote, you probably haven't seen it. Probably don't even know it exists. But this story is about a Miami kickboxing school is so bad it's dying for an appointment of MST3K. So I did not realize that this was set in Miami, which would explain why it had such awful Miami Connection-esque acting in it.
and the questionable Florida.
Well, I mean, I'll say this: it certainly makes the relationship between our two leads make more sense because they are that far south.
I like this review. It's a 10 out of 10, possibly one of the greatest films of all time. Think of some movies people would call cinematic masterpieces. Of course, movies like The Godfather, Seven Samurai come to mind, but I have to include this movie as well. And then it goes in to talk about, if I were to compare it in terms of character development to another movie, it would have to be Requiem for a Dream. It is nothing short of Oscar worthy. If you have the time, please watch this movie. It is simply amazing. And if you don't have the time, make time, because it's that good.
Okay.
Very earnest.
Know what I mean?
This, Hey, Vern. This movie's pretty good, Vern. This review is just simply titled, I liked it. And it was written on June 12th, 1999. I thought the movie was awesome myself. I taped it and I watch it at least once a week. It found itself right at home with my karate movie collection. I thought Christopher Khayman Lee was excellent in it, and I hope to see another movie with him in it sometime, hopefully in the near future. I thought that the action was good and that it had some interesting twists, although not as good as the real life twist, and that I didn't think would occur the first time I saw it.
Well, I mean, I'd agree with that. Machine guns.
That's true. The banker's
Watch this
kid.
once a week.
Once a week.
That review is a cry for help. I have one here from Julio S. Gave it 2.5 out of stars. And covers a lot of stuff that we kind of already talked about. And even some late episode revelations that shook me to my very core. The movie you love to make fun of. Finally on Flickster. It's no longer around anymore. So let's go through this, shall we? 1, the kid in the poster isn't even in this movie.
We haven't really addressed that there's like
Yeah.
a little Asian boy on the movie poster.
He's not a character.
He's not
Right.
in this
Movie.
movie.
No.
2, there is no actual kickboxing in this movie. It's really bad karate. 3, a sensei can't take losing, so he pulls out a machine gun. 4, poor Stephen Bauer. 5, Chyler Leigh makes out with her real brother. Names are spelled differently, but they are real life bro and sis. 6, if not for Donna Barnes, I don't think I could have made it through the movie. If you like bad movies, you'll love this film. Maybe. You know, if you're like high or drunk or something. I feel like Julio S. and I would get along quite well.
Wait, is Donna? I mean, she's not terrible. But like Donna Barnes gets the like, I'm trying to save this thing award. Like, what's going on here?
This one is, I take offense to this one because they said that it's filmed in a quasi-Canadian public TV style. And I'm like, how dare you?
I think they're just talking about the film stock, the appearance of it.
But that it's so bad it's good. So I don't know if Nathan agrees with that part.
I found that the aesthetic of it, anyways, it actually made me think of like, like the in between scenes on Power Rangers or Breaker High or like any of those afternoon kids, like young teen, mid-teen shows that you would see on like YTV back in the day.
Oh, I am familiar with Breaker High, sir.
Yeah.
Young Ryan Gosling. You think I missed out on that?
All right, I've got one more here, and it's titled "A Fun Family-Oriented Action Comedy." It was written in 2003, so not right after the movie came out. This movie was a pleasant surprise. Pretty good acting, a fun story, great action, and some really funny moments. My expectations weren't too high for this film, but it was truly entertaining. I would recommend this movie to any family that wants to watch something together and have a great time.
Again, this is why we got to get Chyler Leigh out at those Comic Cons. We need to get up there. We need to be like, oh, excuse me, hello, yes. Are you still in contact with your brother, the one that you made out with?
The one that you made out, not the other one. The one you made out with.
This one here is it's a 2 out of 10 from Woody Landers. I ran out of Rotten Tomatoes reviews, so I
did a long time ago.
So 2 out of 10. A special kind of bad. Boy, does this movie smell worse than dirty old socks. For starters, the grindingly predictable story about 2 rival kickboxing schools pitted against each other in a major martial arts competition offers 0 surprises. Major martial arts competition? It was Bash at the Beach. With 0 surprises with an ending that is signposted right from the start. Will former kickboxing champ Brian, woodenly played by David Everett, forget his traumatic past so he can fight once again? That's not a thing.
No, Danny's the one with the traumatic past.
I don't know if they were watching the right movie. Will the brutish guy who Will the brutish guy who runs the evil kickboxing school be exposed and embarrassed as a big loudmouth bully fake by the nice lady instructor who runs the good school? Will the fat kid, who's not really all that fat, surprise everyone with some fancy martial arts moves? Well, what do you think? Of course, they all do. So they all will and do. Worse yet, director, co-writer Richard Gabai stages the fight scenes with alarming ineptitude, relates the slight story at an uneven stop-and-go pace, and crams the flick with loads of annoying moments of groan-inducing puerile humor. The icky romantic scenes between real-life...
Incest.
Between Chyler Leigh and Christopher Khayman Lee are distasteful and border uncomfortably on the incestuous. There's no border. They have long crossed over the border. As a matter of fact, ICE is looking for them. They have crossed over the border that hard. The monotonously bouncy score by Larry Berliner and Michael Morrell doesn't help matters any. The sloppy cinematography by George Barnes. This guy's just name dropping left, right, and center here.
Calling out the crew.
Yeah, it's both several painfully crude scene transitions. Poor token named Stephen Bauer gets saddled with a thankless one-note sleazeball villain role. A real stinker. 2 out of 10.
Love how he just looked up who the cinematographer was.
Yeah, he was like, this is who I'm writing names. I got a list of names. Crossing them off.
All right, you got one to finish this off here, Jerika?
I do. I'm pretty sure it's a joke, but it's pretty great and pretty on brand. Awesome kickboxing movie. Best brother-sister combo since Luke and Leia.
Oh,
it's like kissing your sister.
10 out of 10.
Well, there you have it. Those are the reviews for this wonderful family movie, Kickboxing Academy or Teen Boxer. Jerika, thank you for joining us.
You are very welcome. I would have been sad to have seen this one go by without my participation.
So much.
Where can people find you if you want to be found?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Jerika Layne. You tag me when you put this up. You can follow me. Right now, I'm mainly just laughing at, world politics as everything falls apart.
Yeah.
So you can follow me. Always glad to talk movies, good or bad.
But they must have brother-sister makeouts in them.
Absolutely. Okay. That's the only thing I'm watching in 2020. It's what the pandemic deserves.
That is our show. Nathan, is Montrose Monkington there?
He is, although he might take some exception to our show after these revelations that
Is
have
he
come
too
to light.
busy? He might be too busy vomiting.
I will get him. Just give me one moment.
No, you can't make me do it. Look, we're giving you the spot. Would you just go up there and just no? This is the most disturbing, disgusting thing I've ever. You'll do it. You'll do it, or we'll yank the spot.
This is what Chyler Leigh's parents said to her.
Fine.
Hello, this is your good friend Montrose Monkington III. I'll have you know I'm doing this under duress. I am not affiliated, nor do I endorse the content of the episode that has preceded this commercial for me. I will do this as quickly as possible so as to not give any legitimacy to the disgusting matter previously covered. I am Montrose Monkington III. My YouTube channel, Montrose Monkington TV. You can find me on Facebook, Montrose Monkington III, Esquire, and Friends. Finally, I'm on Twitter, at Montrose III. That's number 3, RD. Thank you. More later. There is a ripe slice of hell for all of you.
See you later, bro.
Don't at me.
Well, that was nice of Montrose to stop by, completely under his own volition. No arm wringing whatsoever. So next week, Nathan, is our 150th episode.
What?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. So much like the 100th, I think we're just going to announce it right now because with our 100th episode, of course, we revisited and redid Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park because the original audio on that episode is almost unlistenable.
Robo Nathan.
Yeah, Robo Nathan. So we're going to do the same thing with our second episode that has never aired on this feed, and we are going to revisit a little film called Hollywood Homicide. And if you want to hear Nathan dry heave some more, that's the one to listen to. Harrison Ford sex. There it is. So Hollywood Homicide next week.
The donuts.
Talk about the 150th episode. Yeah. So you can find us all over the place. We're on all the podcast apps. Our home is Age of Radio, ageofradio.org/whatweretheythinking. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at WWTT Podcast. Find us on Facebook. Just search for us. You can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/WWTT Podcast. Just like Jerika, you can be a patron.
Yes, I got to pick this movie because I'm a patron. That was my gift to the world.
Why? The patrons, I appreciate everything you guys do, and I'm glad that you're there for us and helping us out with the show. But if you like us, why do you give us things that clearly show that you hate us?
I mean, I had a good time. I'll tell you this. I would rather watch something like this than like Underworld 6 or whatever.
All right, that's fair, I guess. At least this has got some bonkers stuff going on in it, even though I had no idea what that other bonkers stuff was until the end of the episode.
Oh, one of my favorite moments on this podcast ever. So yeah, Redbubble, patreon.com/WWTT podcast. We're on TeePublic, all that stuff. Maybe we'll get a nice shirt inspired by this movie. Who knows? I think one should be in the works. And I think that's it. Yeah. So I just want to thank Jerika. I just want to thank you once again.
It was my pleasure to be here, extreme sports expert.
That's right. So I guess I just have some questions for you, Nathan, just to wrap this up.
All right. Well, I'll do my best because
in a movie in which, I mean, kickboxing, karate, who knows? We don't know what's going on. It's probably karate.
Right.
In a movie in which there is a small child on the poster, prominently on the poster, that is not in the film.
Yes.
In a movie in which Chyler Leigh and Christopher Khayman Lee star in it as romantic leads.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also real life brother and sister who make out 3 times.
Right.
in the movie. Again, brother and sister making out in this movie. Incest all over this thing. I just gotta ask, when's the sequel coming out?
What were you thinking?
We